We begin the news in West Africa, where residents of Minna, the Niger state capital, Nigeria's north central, are protesting the high cost of living in the country, blocking major roads within the metropolis. Now, the protesters said the rise in cost of food items and poor government efforts to arrest the situation forced them to block major roads so that government will hear their cry. The deputy governor of Niger State, Yakubu Garuba, while addressing the protesters, said the government is aware of the pain and hardship families are faced with at this point in time. The Labour Party candidate Daniel Asama has been declared winner of the House of Representatives rerun election for Jos North Bassa Federal Constituency in Plateau State. Declaring the result this morning, the returning officer, Professor James Garuba, said Daniel Asama was concluded as the winner after elections were concluded on Sunday night. According to him, Asama scored 66,422 votes to defeat his closest rival of the PRP, who got 61,670 votes. The All Progressives Congress candidate came third with just 10,063 votes. ADC pooled 2,090, APP 331, NNPP 2,475, RM 669, and SDP 336. News Central's correspondent Chizoba Anyonwe reports that Daniel Asama now takes a seat of Daniel Aga of the PDP, whose election was nullified by the appeal court for not complying with the electoral guidelines.
Male of ADP scored 122,442. That's Pam Watko, male of ADP scored 122,442. 3. Giwa Christopher Musa, male of APC, scored 39,132. Giwa Christopher Musa, male of APC, scored 39,132. That Datum Pam Watko of ADP, having satisfied the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected. Thank you very much. God bless us all.
Majority of Nigerian cities have had electricity restored after experiencing total blackout on Sunday due to the national grid collapse. Power generation fell to 0 megawatts, causing widespread blackouts in major cities, including the capital, Abuja. Various electricity distribution companies across the country sent messages apologizing to customers regarding the incident. In a statement, Nigeria's transmission company announced that the national grid has been restored after repairs were carried out. This was the first grid collapse this year. It's collapsed several times last year. The Alumni Association of Igbobi College, one of Nigeria's oldest secondary schools, called for improvements in both morals and educational standards across the country. They emphasized this message at the 92nd Founders' Day anniversary celebration and Merit Award presentation honoring deserving individuals. News Central's Niyi Omoniyi reports.
Once boys and students of the prestigious Igbobi College, the boys are now grown men who have established themselves as respected individuals and leaders. They serve as captains of industries and top principals across Nigeria, upholding a legacy of excellence and achievement worth emulating. As Igbobi College celebrates its 92nd anniversary with a luncheon and merit awards ceremony, the Old Boys Association believes these better illustrates the transitions and accomplishments of the school's esteemed alumni over the decades.
Oh, I think today is a great day for ICOBA. So 92 years that the school has existed, Igbobi College. And of course, we take the opportunity to honor our best who have established themselves in different walks of life.
Beyond the festivities, the Old Boys, as they are fondly called, believe there is much to learn from the school's principle and educational model. According to them, if adopted more widely, such practices could help further improve the quality of education across Nigeria.
If you don't have a good quality teaching community, you cannot produce the best students. And this is what we try to encompass in showing that that is the way forward, because it actually works, because we see the results.
You can't give what you don't have. And we have a situation where the people in charge of education do not even know the standards they should aspire to. So we have to find a way of going back to the basics. Imitation is the highest form of flattery. They should just imitate us. We're doing a lot. Do what we're doing, and we will all develop together. As it is now, we are even advising some schools, on what to do.
For the award recipient, the recognition serves as a call to greater service and impact.
In my life, I had close to over 80 to 90, close to 100 awards, both locally and internationally. I would tell you with all sense of humility that this is the best, the highest, however, because the best recognition comes from those that know you.
Anybody who passed out of either a secondary school or a university, and whatever we have become today is because of what that school put in us. So it is time for everybody who passed out of a school to give back to that school what they put in your life to become whatever you are today.
Having produced many eminent Nigerians, the faith-based school advocates support for initiatives that can strengthen moral character and learning across the country. In Lagos for News Central, Ni Omani.
Aba shoemakers and designers are known for their creative acumen, which sees them replicating just about anything produced elsewhere in the world. They are also smart in originality, creating new designs that can stand the test of time. There is, however, a negative perception of clothes and shoes made in Aba by locals and even designers themselves, which makes the producers label their own goods with established foreign designers' name. News Central's Chinwo Gele was in Aba recently and now reports.
Aba, like every other commercial town, is filled with hustling and bustling from the people who live and do business there. It is a total experience because in this town, you will see all manner of artistry, ingenuity, and doggedness. About 50% of the residents of Aba are traders. 30% are into production of various items. The quantity of products churned out daily from this town may just be enough to serve the entire Nigerian populace. Painstakingly, these local designers create beautiful stuff that appeal to the sight, but do not own them because they tag them with foreign designers' names.
They want to survive, and these labels are available in the market. And an average Nigerian would prefer to wear a fake Gucci, a fake Fendi, than to wear an original Nkechi Koto or Bisola wears.
Our people here, we don't like we just like the brand. So when they say it comes from overseas, they prefer those ones than the ones we make locally. So when they cannot afford those that come from overseas, they buy locally and find a way of making it look like they bought it from outside.
A lot of people patronize local designers intentionally, yet some do so inadvertently because they bear logos of foreign designers.
Some people you think makes low quality footwears and other wares too, make very strong ones that can last and last and last. Because I think the one I'm wearing now has been here for the past 3 years, and I'm sure I overuse them once in a while. So it all depends. Maybe when they go out there in the general market, when they do, I think they also do in China and Taiwan and all those areas, you go there, give them specimen of what you want, and they produce that for you.
The distrust of the citizens for the locally made products arise mainly from the quality.
The previous notion about made in Aba is no longer what it is at the moment.
You all know the quality of any garment is a function of the material used, the quality of the sewing, quality of finishing, and of course, attention to details. This is to say that whatever you bring to Aba people is what they will give to you.
designers also enjoy patronage from across Africa.
Though most of us, we've created international channels where we have, international customers, we ship to them, we sell to the people abroad. No, but we still need our local customers.
It is not an easy task to conceptualize designs and put them out as finished products in a city like Aba.
We are doing almost what they are doing there. We don't need a mega factory to build this to make this shoe. Like in Turkey, this warehouse there, they can make 1,000 pairs a day. So the government need to restructure the market and give them the equipment and give them the materials to do it. They can do it here. They can do it here in Nigeria. They can do it here in Aba.
We all know that the tailoring business of today requires steady lights. But then, we don't get the steady lights. What do? We resort to buying generators, and most of these generators we buy were actually designed to function as backups. But because they are not designed to be used every day, 24 hours all the time, they break down all the time because of overusage or constant usage. So what do? We also, spend a whole lot of money buying parts, fixing the parts and servicing.
Commissioner for Trade, Industry and Investment, Dr. Isaac Ukebu, says the Abia State government is making efforts to ease the challenges encountered by the designers and promote their goods as expected.
The power is part of one of the things we are going to really work on. We are working towards that to make sure at least there is sufficient, even if it's not adequate, there will be sufficient power supply. Okay, we actually even go about seeking for market for them. Recently, the last Calabar Carnival, we participated. We supplied them some of the costumes, and they were all made in Abia. I've also been able to secure a contract, even though it's still in the pipeline, of supply of shoes to Nigerian police force. I'm also working towards doing that with NYS.
A city capable of supplying boots to the nation's military men, policemen, National Youth Service Corps members, and other paramilitary agencies, supplies costumes for the popular Calabar festivals, needs everything from constant power supply to updated equipment for the designers and shoemakers to produce optimally and compete favorably with other designers from all over the world. In Aba for News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
Nigeria is an import-dependent nation, yet not a shipping nation, despite its huge contribution to global trade. Playing marginally in the industry, it is on record that no fewer than 90% of shipping companies owned by Nigerians have either completely shut down their operations or barely struggling to survive. With an estimated annual cargo throughput of 150 million metric tons generated, and with freight earnings in excess of $5 billion in our international trade transactions, 95% of this income is earned by foreigners, with job deprivation to a lot of Nigerians. The same dominance by foreigners is also extended to the domestic shipping market, where an estimated $3 billion annual marine-related spending in the oil and gas production activities are virtually earned by foreigners. And to talk about this in detail, I'm joined live in the studio by my guest, Benita Afolabi, a freight forwarder and the managing director of Kaystone Global Resources. Good afternoon. Glad to have you join me.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
I mean, looking at the Cabotage Act of 2003 and seeing that 80% of vessels operating in Nigeria are owned by foreigners, that's a clear violation of that Cabotage Act. How do you think we can increase local participation in Nigeria when it comes to, shipping activities?
Yes, thank you so much. Your assumptions or searches of 80% is even a better number. I think 95% of the shipping business is being handled, managed by foreigners. To me, I think the government has a lot to do, because this is really eating up into the indigenous part of the business. The coastal line the inland waterways are supposed to be indigenous business. But what we see today is foreigners everywhere taking up the business from indigens due to so many facts, FX, investors. It's quite a huge difference between the indigenous players and the foreign interventions.
But then what challenges have you identified hampering developments of indigenous shipping in Nigeria? I know you mentioned, FX, but, talk more in detail about other factors affecting it.
Okay, policies also. I would say the policies guiding the indigenous business is not so strong, whereby there are too many penetrations. The indigenous business owners are not being protected, I would say. For instance, if you as an indigene wants to go into, a non-indigene wants to go into the freight forwarding business. For instance, in the United States of America, you cannot be a custom broker if you are not an American. But it is different back here in Nigeria. When you go to the customs domain, you see a lot of foreigners on Form C30. Form C30 is a document that indicates your operational representation. You see a lot of foreigners. So I think this needs to stop. And for this to stop, to encourage the indigenous business, the government needs to look at, go back to the drawing board and put the right process, the right procedures in place so we can achieve indigenous benefits to this. So we don't wake up one morning and there are no indigens in the shipping and maritime business.
Okay, you've talked about policy, you talked about FX. What solutions would you recommend to ensure Nigerians benefit from its shipping industry?
The solutions I would recommend here is, like I said, the government needs to go back to the drawing board. Who are those in the place of authority? Who are those taking these decisions on behalf of the indigenous people? Do you have the right people at the helm of affairs? Do you have the people who really know where it ought? Or you have people who just want to put up policies they read up somewhere? Or you have people who are in the day-to-day business, who can, eyes closed, tell you what the challenges are. Is it as to security? Who is managing our security security part of the maritime business? Is it approvers? Who are those giving these approvers to foreigners? They are Nigerians, they are indigenous people. So the government needs to go back to the drawing board, look at the policies, look at those who sit to put these policies together so we don't wake up one morning and the Nigerian content is gone to foreigners. And for you to also know that these foreigners, we aren't saying foreigners shouldn't come into Nigeria to invest, but at what percentage is the involvement? Because these people would go back with their earnings. But if it is being managed by indigens, it remains here. It's our own. We want to give it our best. So I think the government needs to look at these procedures and these laws.
Now let's take a look at the recent Nigerian Customs Service exchange rate for goods importation. Previously at 1,356 naira. Now it's jumped up to 1,413 naira to a dollar. What do you think this means for importers and also consumers?
Over the weekend, it got to a point I had to call two of our clients that had huge consignments to clear from the ports. And as at Friday, before close of business, we had already given an estimated duty cost of about 45 million naira. And waking up this Monday morning, and we told him, oh, sorry, duty has changed from what it was as at Friday to Monday. And he was like, then I would abandon the cargoes there. That is what would come after it. Too many abandoned cargoes. Look at the Ikorodu terminal. Abandoned cargoes everywhere because of this dollar issue. So this is going to impact on the importers because they will end up not clearing these cargoes from the ports. they become overtime cargo. At some point, it gets abandoned. It becomes abandoned cargo. And to the final consumers, absolutely, the rising costs would keep going high because the importers will want to sell what they bought. I was talking to an importer yesterday, and he told me, he said, see, at this point, we are shutting down our market. He sells on the Idumota market. He said, as we speak, we go to our shops, we sit and we look. We close in the evening and we go back home. Let's see where we get to. And at the end of it, the final consumer would be the burden bearer.
Well, hopefully something is done pretty soon. But thank you so much for your time on the news and of course, your kind company, Benita Afolabi. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Still in the West, Senegal's opposition deputy, Guy Marius Sagna, said former Prime Minister Aminata Touré, now a leading opposition figure, has been arrested in Dakar at a protest against the postponement of the presidential election. Touré was appointed Prime Minister by President Macky Sall before joining the opposition. This comes after the announced postponement of the February 25 presidential election. The news continues in Southern Africa, where condolences have continued to pour in for the late president, Namibian President Hage Geingob, as a high-level committee has been established to lead preparations for his new representative. Announcing the new committee, Namibian President Nangolo Mbuba said it will be headed by Prime Minister Sarah Kugungela Amadila. Nangola Mbuba was sworn in as Namibia's new president. This follows the death of President Hage Geingob, who died on Sunday morning in the hospital at the age of 82. Mbuba was the vice president during Geingob's presidency.
During this difficult period of mourning, I urge all Namibians to remain united and to keep the bereaved family, the bereaved Geingob family and clan in our prayers. I take on this heavy mantle, cognizant of the weight of this responsibility, to serve all people of Namibia with utmost dedication and commitment in the service of all citizens.
It's an honor, and with a sense of responsibility, that I have accepted the appointment to serve in the office of the Vice President.
Reports say at least 1 out of every 4 individuals is susceptible to cancer, while the recovery rate is over 60% when detected early. Experts say early diagnosis is key, and about 67% survive 5 or more years after diagnosis. Just about 18% have survived 20 or more years after diagnosis. 64% of survivors are age 65 or older. This comes as the World Health Organization's Regional Director for Africa, Dr. Matshidiso Moeti, expressed deep concern over the devastating impact of cancer in Africa. Speaking on World Cancer Day, she revealed that in 2022, cancer claimed the lives of over 500,000 Africans. Dr. Moeti highlighted the prevalence of breast, cervical, prostate, colorectal, and liver cancers, attributing 50% of new cases to these types. Men are likely to develop prostate, lung, or colorectal cancer, while females suffer from breast, cervical, and thyroid cancer. In East Africa, the number of people who died in a huge gas explosion in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, on Thursday has risen to 6. 2 more people succumbed to their injuries on Sunday while receiving treatment at the Kenyatta National Hospital, the country's largest referral hospital. 52 others are being treated in different health facilities. A lorry laden with gas cylinders blew up just before midnight in a densely populated area of the town, causing several fires. The authorities have described the filling facility as illegal and said it had previously been demolished twice. The World Food Programme is calling for immediate, unimpeded and safe access to conflict-hit areas of Sudan to provide food to millions of displaced people facing acute hunger amid warnings that the war, which seems forgotten, has potential implications for regional stability. Speaking in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, Kenzili urged the international community to wake up to the threats posed by the escalating conflict in Sudan. The WFP says more than 9 months of conflict has exacted unimaginable toll on civilians. It calls the situation beyond dire, noting that almost 18 million people are facing acute hunger. At least 37 civilians have been killed and 18 abducted in renewed attacks in an area disputed between South Sudan and Sudan. Authorities say it is the latest attack in a 3-year-long spate of clashes in the oil-rich region of Abyei. The area's interim administration said majority of those killed during the weekend raid were women and children. The markets and residential areas were touched and 1,000 heads of cattle looted. The Minister of Information, Culture, Youth and Sport in the Abyei Special Administration, Bolios Koch Agua, condemned the attacks and urged the national government in Juba to address the conflict between the Ngok Dinka of Abyei and the Twik Dinka of Warrap. Eswatini Foreign Prime Minister Folile Shekantu and her delegation have successfully completed their visit to Taiwan on Sunday. Shakuntu met with President Tshisekedi Ngweng and Vice President Lai Ching during this time. According to a Foreign Ministry press release on Monday, Shekantu signed a joint declaration with Foreign Minister Joseph Wu. The document highlights and reaffirms a rock-solid Taiwan-Eswatini relationship and promises to strengthen future cooperation between the two countries. The United States Senate has unveiled a $118 billion bipartisan deal that would boost border security and provide wartime aid for Israel and Ukraine. U.S. President Joe Biden and Democratic and Republican leaders in the Senate have been pushing to resupply Ukraine with wartime aid, but have faced resistance from conservative Republicans who have insisted on measures to tackle illegal immigration at the border with Mexico. The bill announced on Sunday would provide $60 billion in aid to Ukraine, whose efforts to push back Russia's invasion have been hampered by a halt in U.S. shipments of ammunition and missiles. In recent developments, the Chilean Ministry of Interior has raised the death toll from the forest fires to 112 and noted that the medical service has identified 32 bodies. The highest authorities of the Valparaiso region in the center of the country have requested that the work of the investigation of deaths be accelerated, given the high number of people reported to the police as missing. In a press conference, the mayor of the city, Maserena Rapamonti, said 190 people are still missing in Vina del Mar. A second curfew has been imposed in 4 communities of Valparaiso in order to restrict traffic in impacted areas and facilitate relief work for the victims and removal of the deceased. The curfew takes effect on Monday from 10 a.m. local time until 6 p.m. local time.
Y mi mamá se la llevó una señora, mi mamá se lo solita, ella tiene 90 años. Salió una señora que en un automóvil la tomó y se la llevó, la dejó lejos, o sea, tratando de resguardarla. Así que después tratando de ubicarla a ella, no sabíamos de mi hermano, después los otros días nos enteramos de que uno de nuestros hermanos había fallecido en el incendio, no pudo salir. Y ahora vamos a tener que empezar de cero todo de nuevamente. No nos queda otra, pero esto fue muy rápido, muy rápido. Como que no nos dimos cuenta.
Gracias a Dios la casa de mis papás no se quemó completa, pero la de mi vecino, la de mi hermano, todo quemado. Y es horrible despertar un día después, ver todo esto, es como... Ojalá todos pensamos que fuese un sueño, pero no, era la realidad que nos tocó vivir. Nunca pensamos que no iba a llegar a nosotros, lo veíamos tan lejano.
Todo rodeado fue una cosa de segundos, se vino el humo por abajo, por ahí arriba, y quedamos todos atrapados. Y si uno no salía, sí, es que fue de un momento a otro. Uno entró a su casa a buscar algo y saliste y ya estaba todo inundado. todo, ya humo por todos lados, los niños ya perdiendo el conocimiento. Aquí se volcaron varios autos, aquí en la subida, porque la gente estaba escapando. Aquí nadie llegó ni diciendo escape, nada, fue de un momento a otro. ¿Cómo ven?
Australia's government on Monday says writer Yang Jun has been given the suspended death sentence in China, describing it as harrowing news. The Chinese-born Australian citizen has been in jail in China since 2019 on spying accusations. In a news conference, Foreign Minister Penny Wong said the Australian government is appalled at this outcome. Wong, however, said the death sentence may be commuted to life in jail after a period of 2 years. Australian ministers said they will be communicating their response in the strongest terms and further stated that the Chinese ambassador would be summoned to hear Australia's objection.
I come to you with the most harrowing news. In Beijing, Australian citizen Dr. Yang Jun has received a suspended death sentence. We understand that this can be commuted to a life sentence following 2 years. The Australian government is appalled at this outcome. We will be communicating our response in the strongest terms. As a first step, I have directed my secretary to summon China's ambassador to Australia to express our objection.
In business, coal exports along South Africa's northern corridor to Richards Bay Coal Terminal are up more than 10% in December 2023 quarter to an average of 1.1 million tons a week. The northern corridor is the main rail route connecting the Mpumalanga coal fields to the port of Richards Bay and is responsible for about 41% of total Transnet freight rail volumes. Including shipments from other routes between the September and December quarters, volumes shipped to RBCT were up nearly 4% to 48.74 million tons. Analysts are cautiously optimistic that the changes in the state's own NTT are already showing results. The Central Bank of Kenya's monetary policy team could heavily consider inflation data as a set new indicative on lending rate this Tuesday. The inflation, which is the change in the cost of goods and services, excluding those from food and energy sectors. The reemergence of pressure on non-food and non-fuel prices has coincided with the rebound in overall inflation, or headline inflation, which hit 6.9% last month from 6.6% in December. Incidentally, export earnings for Kenya is projected top also increased in the same period under review. And that's all on the news at this hour. But before we go, let's take a look again at some of the major stories. Nigeria has restored power after national grid collapsed over the weekend. Death toll from Kenya gas explosion has risen to 6. Finally, we told you that Senegal's former Prime Minister, Aminata Touré, has been arrested amid protests. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen and follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Adebola Adeduba.